All right, let's get our Facebook friends in here so we can start the show, get the wheels spinning. I think we got everybody going. Hopefully, Scott fixed all the things that we needed. And there we go. Welcome in, everybody. It is Monday morning, the 20th of May. God, man, this month is flying by, Scott. How are you? Hopefully, your day started off a little better than mine did with the cat really sabotaging my morning.
Well, mine's about to get locked out because he comes in and wakes me up at 5 every
Mhm.
single day. Every single day. And I get the making biscuits, and then
Mhm.
he starts yelling at me, "Get up! Food!"
Yep.
Bring this cat. So yes, I feel like you that I've got a newborn at my house too. 5 a.m.
Yeah, it's been waking up at 4:30 a.m. On Mondays and Wednesdays to do the shows with you, which I don't mind. I'm an early riser, but fed the babies that way he wouldn't. He typically wakes up 6 o'clock for a feed and then goes back down until 7:30, 8:30. And I had him down. It was 5:28, and the cat jumps on the bed, like really loud, long one, and the baby's eyes are just boom. And I mean, once I don't know how many people have babies in here, but I feel like once they've like really woken up, it is hard to get them back down. So I was mad. I was ready for that cat to. How many lives do you have? But that's one. Just
Because
kidding.
one of them just went away.
Yeah, it's bet, man. But yeah, no, that was unfortunate. I feel bad for my wife because I'm like, he was down and then he wasn't. I gotta go. Good luck. Yep, he is. Kept him in the dark room, luckily. But we're here, we're live, we're hanging out, and we're gonna talk the Broncos schedule. Scott, first I gotta ask you, and this is something that I already know you do not just care about at all because it's silly, stupid. But did you get a chance to watch the Broncos media release for the schedule release?
No, I didn't. I saw it was Lewis Hamilton,
Yes.
but I didn't watch it. I just scrolled to where I saw the menu was so I could see it, but I didn't watch I didn't watch anybody's. Actually,
Okay.
that's not true.
Chargers.
No,
Oh,
Tennessee Titans.
okay.
Because it said the Red Stallion girl is back, and I wanted to see her. So I see how they reintegrated her after they made her famous. I watched the Titans again and got a chuckle out of some of that stuff.
That's really fun. If you have a chance to watch the Chargers as well, I mean, they don't win games in the football field, but their social media team constantly wins.
I saw it trending. They did something with Sims or something, but no.
Sims.
Yeah,
Yes.
I didn't watch it. The only one I watched was the Tennessee Titans.
Well, the Chargers one is worth watching. The Broncos one is probably the worst one I've ever seen. It is kind of a hodgepodge. They don't even do it in the order of the schedule. Like it's just like here's teams we're playing. Like we already knew that. Why? The point is the order of the games. It was terrible. The only bit I liked is that they had him eat. They gave him dog treats to eat for the Browns game. He's a I think he's vegan
Well, they
as
yeah, they
well.
eat milk bones in the dog pound
Yeah,
in
yeah.
Cleveland. So good for them.
Yeah, they gave him a little dog biscuits, to eat, but other than that, it was just I don't know, man. It has not been that was not great. I will say that. It's not been the best, perception off season for Denver. I will say though, Scott, and I know this is another thing you don't care about your ball game on the field, but we did have the rookie showcase this last weekend, and I will have to say the orange uniforms on actual humans, on the field, they looked okay. They're not incredible. They're not as good as the throwback uniforms, which are just the best. I think the best, one of the best kits in all of sports. But
You know me so well. I didn't watch that either
yeah,
at all. I saw like a picture of Drake May and Tom Brady, and that was pretty much it. It's like,
yep.
oh, here's the two Michigan guys. I'm like, okay, great.
JJ
Um,
McCarthy. I mean, then if you're
oh,
talking Michigan
well,
guys,
why would? But it was Drake May. Was it because of the Patriots?
probably because the Patriots. I
Yeah,
mean,
okay.
Tom Brady was
But
down
why
there
did it
too.
say
There's
the
one.
Michigan men? Because I didn't see a picture of him. I swear the caption said Michigan men, and that just stuck in my brain because it wasn't McCarthy. McCarthy, it was Drake May and
I
oh,
don't
I
know.
don't know. Again, I don't care.
Well, there's a picture of Bo Nix with Tom Brady as well, and the Franklin was down there. Adric Estime. I thought the uniforms looked okay. They're not incredible,
It,
but they're a little bit more subtle.
having watched so much international football, soccer, that's kind of how it works, though. It's like when you get an up close view of the jersey of the kid, or you're like, oh my god, And then you see it on the field, and it's like some of these intricate patterns and stuff. You don't see any of them. They just kind of blend in, and you're just left with the colors, and it all kind of makes sense. You're like, okay, it's not too busy. It works. It actually works pretty well on the field. And one of the other things that works pretty well is AG1. The older I get, the more seriously I know I have to take care of my health and nutrition. Enter AG1. For people like us who sit around at laptops for hours writing articles and doing podcasts, it become all too convenient to rely on coffee and caffeine. But I don't always want a second cup of coffee in the afternoons, and I can always use a kick of nutrition as well. With AG1, you get sustained energy. On top of that, I'm not a big fan of multivitamins, and I've learned recently how important it is to take care of your gut health. AG1 kills all three of those birds with one stone, and it does so in an impressive, life-altering fashion. Improve gut health, focus energy, and nutrition all in one awesome smoothie or mixed in water. AG1 is next level.
AG1 is a supplement I trust to support my whole body health and help me feel my very best. If you want to take ownership of your health, it starts with AG1. Try AG1 and get a free 1-year supply of vitamin D3, K2, and 5 free AG1 travel packs. When you first subscribe, go to drinkag1.com/huddle. Once again, that's drinkag1.com/huddle. Make sure you check it out.
Going back to some of the pop culture talk here, Jeremy was talking about the video, and he says it's like Hot Ones. If Hot Ones sucked, and US Dave says, I don't recognize 80% of today's Hot Ones participants. I don't have any idea what y'all are talking about. I don't know what Hot Ones is.
Oh, Scott, that's crazy to me. Hot Ones is a interview show where they eat progressively hotter wings.
I know what that is. Oh, I've seen it with the peppers though.
Okay, they do it with it's the same host every time. They do wings. They also do cauliflower with the hot sauce on it, and they get pretty progressively hotter.
Okay,
and,
okay, I got it. I know that concept. I've never watched it. I didn't know that was the name of it, and I've seen them do it with peppers because you watch those on YouTube. Like YouTube, you're like, oh goodness.
It's an actual show though. It's not just like a challenge where they get peppers or something. It's an actual like a guy does the show, and there's really good interviews. It's some of the interviews. I mean, I don't know how you handle heat, Scott, but some of the interviews get pretty unhinged because they are so unbearable. Conan O'Brien just did one recently, and he really committed to the bit, and he lost his damn mind. But they're crazy. Gordon Ramsay has a good one. Idris Elba. There's a lot of really good hot ones.
Love Idris Elba.
Yeah, so if there's a celebrity you like, you might want to check it out.
And I'm drawing a blank on her name. Did one recently and she's now a meme everywhere for the googly face.
Oh, Sydney Sweeney.
Yeah. See, I know who that is.
Me too. Washington, Pride of Washington, Spokane.
Yeah, I know who that is, and I can't believe I don't know her from more stuff because I see her everywhere. I'm like, oh, where do I know her from? I'm like, and I go down a list of stuff. I'm like, she hasn't really been in anything I've even watched. I know who she is.
Yeah, she's memorable for sure. She's definitely attractive. She's in Euphoria. That was her big break. But getting to it here.
That I think she did it. She had a part in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Was the first time I saw her, and I was like, IMDb, who is that?
Awooga.
Yeah, goodness.
But anyway, the schedule release, not Awooga for me. I think Denver really dropped the ball there on that one. If you have a chance to watch the Chargers one, it was really good. And Denver's schedule, it's tough this season. They figure the strength of schedule is somewhere about like the 10th or 12th toughest schedule, but it comes out, and here we go. Scott bringing it up here. September 8th, all this stuff here. Back out in Seattle. Unfortunately for me, I will not be heading to that game, trying to get out there to September 15th. But before we get into it too much, Scott, probably want to say hello to some people in the chat. Monica's in the house. Good to see you. Jeremy, good to see you. Bad weekend for Denver. Yeah, sorry, Abs and Nuggets. But hey, rookie quarterback in Denver, things to be excited about. David's in the house. Great to see you. MLA is in the house. Good to see you. Zach Powers, our guy Mark Schrader, kicking us off here with some coffee. Always appreciate you. We got Ocean View come in and says Las Vegas beat Kansas City without completing a pass after the first quarter and not scoring an offensive touchdown the whole game. Denver smushed Kansas City. I think Denver splits the AFC West. Certainly possible. That's the NFL though, right? Denver ends up losing to the Commanders, who have the second overall pick last season. They lose to the Patriots, who have the third overall pick, and they end up beating the freaking Bills in Buffalo and Kansas City for the first time since week 2, 2015. It's not college football where the talent disparities are crazy. And when you actually get like, massive upsets in college, anything can happen in the NFL. I'll never forget. God, it would have been 2010 maybe, Scott, where the Packers were like 10-0 undefeated going into Kansas City, who ends up getting the first overall pick that season. The Packers are going to kill them. Kansas City ends up whipping them in that game. Just anything can happen in the NFL.
Well, and there's not the
one game.
importance, impetuous, is that the word I was looking for, on every single game. So, when you're 17, you might get a game. It's like, we're going to rest 3 of our guys here that are a little banged up. I got the feeling last year that Kansas City was a little bored with the regular season. So Kansas City might be just content. Let's throw our 11-6 out there, and we'll go to the playoffs, and we'll get hot at the right time. So you want to be one of those 6 that can go beat Kansas City. They're vulnerable during the regular season until someone starts beating them in the playoffs. I'm going to keep choosing Kansas City now moving forward. But any team, it's just over the course of the 17 games, the table will tell. It will, the standings will tell you where you belong after 17 games. Where are you? Are you 1-5? Are you 6-1? Or are you 8-9? Over the course of the year, 8-9 seemed about fair. You weren't as good as the streak said you were, and you weren't as bad as the 1-5 said you were. You're probably somewhere in between. And over the course of 4.5 months, it balances out about right.
Yeah, exactly right, Scott. You'll win some games you didn't expect, and you'll lose some games you didn't expect. But in the end, over a large enough sample size, it tends to normalize. It's one reason, talking about Bo Nix out of the gate. Give me 6 to 8 games before we're really way overreacting one way or another. It's possible he comes out and throws 60 yards and 2 picks week 1, or he comes out and throws 4 touchdowns and 400 yards. Either way, it's going to be hard not to overreact because, the sample is what we have to react on. But we will wait and see what happens and hopefully let enough time pass and really start to let things normalize a bit. And it's helping us normalize. Michael Ronquillo coming in the morning, the opener here. Good morning, Nick and Scott on Broncos for Breakfast. Go Broncos. Thank you so much, Michael. We appreciate you kicking us off with the super chats and everything. Monica also coming in, said happy this year. If we at least show some competition against good teams, will show us their determination. What do you say? I think we got that last season. I mean, they had heart last season. I just want to see them take care of business more often. That's my big one. Beat the teams that you should beat. The variance that you had last season was frustrating. Losing to terrible teams, the Patriots, the Commanders. Can we beat the frickin' Raiders, who I just continuously talk about how bad they are, and Denver hasn't beat them in, God, I don't even remember the last time they beat the Raiders, Scott. It's been way too long for how terrible the Raiders are. So I would like to see them fight against some upper competition, but we kind of crossed that hurdle last year, in my opinion.
Yeah, as far as, getting that monkey off your back with Kansas City, that's definitely one. There were some pretty varying games. I think, you want to throw out you can't lose to the Jets at home.
Yeah,
when they're coming in with Zach Wilson and Nathaniel Hackett, and they're on like a 3-game losing streak. Throw those out of there. You might not go to Buffalo and win on Sunday night, Monday Night Football, but at least beat the teams that want to be beaten. And the Jets were one of those teams last year. But I was laughing at Christian here. Christian Parker's Burning says, hopefully our running backs don't fumble at the goal line in Seattle again. That was tough. That was 14-point swing right there. And the other one that I was looking up when you were talking, since Gatorade Gaming, such a hot take, Scott, picking Kansas City. The thing is, though, I can't remember the order. I picked against them in the first 2 rounds because they didn't have to play 3 to get in. One of them was at Buffalo, and I think I picked Buffalo, but I couldn't remember
They played Miami at home in that game where like a whole bunch of people got frostbite. That was because they won the AFC West. They had a home game. Then they went to Buffalo. Then they went to Baltimore, and then they won the Super Bowl.
I may have picked Miami. I don't remember for sure, but I remember thinking as when they finally went to Baltimore. No, I picked Baltimore because then they go to the Super Bowl.
Like,
so I picked Kansas City, but then I picked Buffalo, and then I picked Baltimore. Home games for those 2 teams. San Francisco's playing lights out, And I'm like, I'm done. I'm done picking against Kansas City. They kind of eke their way through the regular season. They kind of eke their way through. I'm done picking them. I mean, I'm done picking against them. They're one of those teams. It's just like I said, they step up when they need to. They're that good right now that they're like, yeah, we'll play when we need to. And that's frustrating. That's frustrating. It's okay for you in the regular season because you're like, hey, we can sneak out a win against Kansas City. They don't really give a crap yet. It's week 9. Mm-hmm. Okay, get your dub. I don't want to play them when the season's on the line right now. That's for damn sure.
Patrick Mahomes is the boogeyman right now. It's unfortunate, and hopefully Denver can rise up and give him a chance to, beat him in some meaningful games. But we got that monkey back off already. That team, guys in there, had never gone their whole career without beating Kansas City. Now they've beaten Kansas City, so hopefully things can change. We got Mike Evans in the house. Good to see you, Mike. Always appreciate you coming and saying hello. Roy Osborne, good morning again, Nick and Scott. Fun to see you over there. We have Nugmaster coming in and says Vegas has Denver getting less than 6 wins. I can't imagine them not getting 6. I have them at going in without going the game by game, Scott, which we'll do here in a second. I have them going 6-11 this season, just off the cuff. So 1 game over. If that makes me a hater, I guess it is what it is. But it's a team, when you go through the roster, you start stacking up where they're at, especially the depth, Scott. I mean, I just don't think it's a very good talent team this season. And we had a comment in here, I really hope the rookies step up this season. I'm hoping for the 2022 and 2023 class to step up. Those are the areas. I mean, rookies, yes, of course, too, but can we get anything from Mathis, Owazarike, Dulcich, Drew Sanders, Riley Moss? Can Marvin Mims be anything more than a gadget special teams guy? Because that's what he was last season, fumbling the ball away left and right and not running anything but a fly route. So those are things that the rookies, I give them a break when they're a rookie. That's why I'm not, again, harsh on Marvin Mims there, because it wasn't great last year as a receiver. Didn't see much from Sanders or Moss, but now it's time. Now it's time for those guys. They need to step up. We need those 2 draft classes to step up.
Yeah, and the thing is, Broncos country, this isn't just Broncos country. Everything that you are saying about your team right now, with all of the hope, all of the draft picks, all of the free agents, every other single team is saying the exact same things. So it's like, okay, well, we got this guy and we got this guy. Okay, well, so did they. And they're all improving, and everybody's thinking best case scenarios right now. So, it comes back, and Keith comes in with some stars. Thank you, sir. He says, if the Denver Broncos can be in contention by the week 14 bye, that could be key to making that final push. Go Broncos, Nick and Scott. Thank you, sir. Now, you mentioned Vegas has the over-under at 5.5 wins, so 6. Right now, the Broncos are only favored in two games. I think that week 8, I can't even see the weeks on here. Yeah, week 8, October 27th, Carolina Panthers, and I think Raiders at home. That's it. Okay, well, what do they know? They don't know anything. They know more than you think. As far as it comes, the idea of you can only be favored in 2 and then turning around and winning 11 is kind of far-fetched. So I guess why I always try and play Debbie Downer, or let's bring some levity to this a little bit, is if you've got the expectations, like, Keith is talking about, hey, if we come into this, we're sitting there contending and we're 6-4. Well, actually, it's 14 weeks. So 13, we're 7-6 going into the bye, then we're in good shape. Okay, what if you're not? Okay. What if you're 3-11 going in? What do you expect then? What do you want to do? Do you want to fire your coach? Do you want to bench your quarterback? Because right now the expectations of this team from an external point of view is 5-12. Okay. So if I'm 5-12, okay, we kind of met expectations. That's where we were supposed to be, because this is a rebuilding year with a huge dead cap number. But if I'm coming into this thing thinking Bo Nix is going to be rookie of the year and I'm going to be 11-6 and make the playoffs, what if you're not, though? Is it Bo Nix a failure? Is Sean Payton a failure because of your own outsized expectations? So that's why I want to try and bring some levity to this. The outside perspective of this Broncos team is that you're fighting for a top 5 pick, not for a playoff spot.
Yeah, it's, again, I've said it before on Twitter. I said it on here because of the rookie quarterback and the quarterback being the most important position. You have a wider variance because you just don't know if Nix is going to come in and what he's going to be like out of the gate. And I don't expect him to be a superstar out of the gate. That'd be great, obviously. But CJ Stroud, Andrew Luck, Cam Newton level of quarterback day one, not likely, not not very probable. But again, the future's not written yet, and he could come out and be awesome out of the gate, and that could totally change the perspective on the season. We just don't know yet. But Scott, game by game here. I'd like to go through it, obviously, at Seattle to start. But at first, the Boogmeister coming in, helping us out here, keeping the lights on, making the 4:30 a.m. wake-up calls worth it for me out here on the West Coast. Says, good morning, big dogs from rainy Buta. I don't know what that is, but good luck wherever you are if it's rainy. I just wanted to drop in and say MHH is the best out there. Thank you so much, Boogmeister. We appreciate you coming in and saying hello and good morning. Hopefully the coffee's good. And
appreciate you, Rainy Buta. Is that
Where's
like
that?
your hiney? Booty?
I don't know. This good luck wherever you are, man. I don't know what that is. But game by game prediction here for the Broncos. Tough schedule. And Scott, I think that the first 8 weeks, not terrible. But after that, the back-to-back Baltimore and Kansas City, oh my, on the road, unbelievable. Week 14 bye. I mean, you might be limping at that point. Who knows what that looks like? But it is a tough schedule on the surface, without a doubt. Luckily, a little easy out of the gate. Maybe we can keep some vibes going early on. But those last 3 lines there, brutal.
But you start off again. Which part of this is easy? At Seattle? Is that the easy one? At home against Pittsburgh Steelers, who haven't finished under 500 in like 20 years? And there's all okay, Utah.
Okay.
It's going to be an interesting one, that's for sure. I'm a little surprised that one didn't get a better slot. That game against Pittsburgh Steelers with Russell Wilson coming back, assuming he's the starter. At Tampa finished last year as well as anybody. I think they won a bunch. They were probably like 5-1 down the stretch and then won a playoff game at Tampa in the afternoon in September in Florida. I went and hid inside at a bowl game in January in Tampa because it was so freaking hot sitting in the stands. At Jets, you didn't beat the Jets last year. I know it's a new year. I know it's a new year
or
for them too.
Yeah, the year before also back-to-back losses at home.
It's a new year for them too. They could be significantly different. Again, which part of at Seattle, Pittsburgh at home, at Tampa, at New York Jets, which part of that's easy?
It's easier than at Baltimore, at Kansas City. And then the Falcons as well. Good team. But we got Kenneth coming in with the vibes, 13-4. That'd be pretty incredible. Jonathan saying 9-8 because of new kickoff rules. That might help too. I don't know if that's going to make a 4-game difference according to the Vegas odds there, but we'll see. Things change. And again, as Jeremy said, predicting the game-by-game predictions in May is kind of silly. It is silly, but it is May, and we're here for the silliness. So week 1, Scott, I think Denver's going to start off 0-1, losing at Seattle. Seattle's a tough place to play. It's the Russell Eviction Bowl coming off here, but I think it's a tough game week 1. Bo Nix has a hard time beating Seattle-based teams. I think 0-3 there with the Ducks versus the Huskies as well. So I will go with Seattle week 1.
Yeah, the thing is, if I start going game by game, this team ends up like 2-15.
I mean,
but that again, that's they're favored. They're only favored in 2 games.
Yep.
It's almost easier for me to do it in blocks.
Okay, let's do it.
Where I can say, all right, I'm not sure which one of these you win, but I think like the first 4 weeks is 1-4. I mean, 1-3, apologies. Going line by line, row by row. Which one of those do you get the win at? I would say you're most likely is probably to get a split in your first 2, either Seattle away at Seattle, or you get the Steelers at home. because again, winning at Tampa is good. That's not going to be easy. Tampa is pretty good this year, and the Jets. We'll see what the Jets are. The Jets could be number 1 overall pick, or they could be an AFC team. We're not exactly sure what we're going to get right there, but it's not easy. I think 1-3 to start.
Yeah. I do think that Tampa Bay is due for very large regression this season, Scott. I think that with their lost their offensive coordinator, I think Baker Mayfield was a bit of an anomaly last season. A lot of his advanced metrics point to very big regression from him. So I think Tampa Bay is one that's going to end up being a paper tiger in the end. So Denver's got a chance there, but you're right. September in Florida on the road, that is a tough matchup. So I think that Denver's got a chance in that away game, especially with a Sean Payton, hard ass, pardon my language, kind of coach team. It's going to be a business trip. But out of these games, the one they have the best chance to win is probably that one home game with Russell Wilson coming home. I think the Broncos fans are going to be nuts. And also Mile High Huddle meetup. We got the magic juju on that one, right? So Mile High Huddle has not had a loss yet for their meetup. So that's one. I feel like we can say a win on that one.
The meet and greet there. If I go to the second row, I feel like 2-2 in that group.
Mm-hmm.
Somewhere again, I feel like you can get a split out of the first two, out of the Chargers and Raiders split, and then split at Saints, Carolina at home, but I think 2-2 out of that next 4. So now you're looking at what, 3-5 through the first 8.
Yep, I think they do have a chance to go 3-4 in that second block.
3-1, yeah, 3 out of 4, absolutely.
Yeah.
2 home games, and then the Panthers at home. One of those you need to win one of those for sure. You need to win the Panthers game.
And also, it's Sean Payton homecoming game there for the Saints. And I think that the Saints are another team that I'm not really a big fan of their roster. I don't know how much you were following that last year, Scott, but there's some concerns in that locker room with Derek Carr, and everything there doesn't sound like it's working out the best. And Dennis Allen is very much on the hot seat.
I was going to say, you could be facing your future defensive coordinator in Dennis Allen.
Yeah. So I think you got a chance really to go. This is the easiest block. 3 games are home. You tend to split with the Chargers every year. This is year 1 of Jim Harbaugh, so they're kind of remaking their image there. Although I expect them to be much more competent than they have been the last few seasons. And maybe we finally get this Raiders monkey off our back. I mean, is Gardner Minshew? You can't beat Gardner Minshew against the Raiders. I know that they, I can't. You guys would have to help me out with when the last time Denver beat the Raiders, but I know it's the really long streak. But I think, the first half of the season, you have a chance to be there 4-4, 3-5. The one thing that scares me here, Scott, is that after that, it ramps up a lot. And I think, 4-4, 3-5, maybe you talk yourself out of being a seller at that point. Oh, we got a chance here. And I think things could fall off hard.
Did they move it back, or is that next year?
What was that?
They moved the trade deadline back. Does that start 2025, or does that start this year?
I'm not sure.
Because normally it's right at Halloween, and I think they moved it back another couple of weeks.
They moved it back. It's going to be November 5th, so it's going to be after the week 9 game.
Really.
So they moved it back 1 week.
Yeah, they moved it back 1 week instead of Halloween. Best case, I think you're looking at 5-3 after 8. It's possible. Can you beat Seattle? Can you beat them? Any of those 4 games? Yes, there's not an unwinnable game on here by any stretch of the imagination. I think best case, you're looking at 5-3 after 8, but I say 3-5 right now.
I think 3-5, 4-4 is very possible with that block. And after that, it gets tough. The next line here, you got at Baltimore, at Kansas City, home against the Falcons, and then at the Raiders. I think 0-4 is very, very reasonable here. I mean, 3 away games. The Raiders, you can't beat them on the road, it seems like, for whatever reason, even though it's corporate kind of games there. And then the Falcons, I guess out of this block, the Falcons are the ones I feel the most confident against. But that's a decent Falcons team.
Yeah, and you're
As
probably a
well.
3-point dog there with the the home
Oh,
crowd. Let me see what Atlanta is favored by. What week is that?
week 11. I go 4.5.
Denver Broncos. Yeah, Atlanta's favored by 3 going into that game right now. And then they have the bye week coming out, coming after that. So we'll see. But I think 1-3 out of that group, I think you sneak one in there somehow. One of them you're like, oh, we didn't expect to win this one. Wait a minute, we beat the Chiefs, then lost. We won in Kansas City and then lost at Las Vegas. Yeah, that's the kind of stuff that happens during the regular season. Like I said, during this block, if I'm looking at each one of these, you're not favored in any one of these games. So 0-4 is realistic, is possible, but if you're a single digit dog 4 times, you're probably winning at least one of those games. That's just the way the probability ends up working. So I would say 1-3 on this bunch. So I got 1-3, 1-3, 2-2. So I'm sitting at 4-8 after 12 games.
Yep. The next one is week 13 at home against the Cleveland Browns, and you have a bye week, week 14, then at home against the Colts, and then away against the Chargers. Again, 1-2, Scott, maybe. That's one where it'd be tough. I think that the bye week maybe helps you against the Colts, but that's going to be a feisty Colts team. We'll see what happens. They're a huge wild card with Anthony Richardson, but they looked really competent last season. That's a young emerging team. So it's
there's all kinds of volatility in that lineup, in that fourth block right there. The Deshaun Watson, Cleveland Browns nightmare that they've been. Anthony Richardson, who played 4 games last year and finished 1 of them. What's he going to be like by week 15? Is he even in there? And are you facing Joe Flacco? They were in the playoffs until the very last snap of last year when they lost to Houston with Gardner Minshew. Very different feel with Joe Flacco if he ends up being the quarterback. And then we're not quite sure what we're going to get at Chargers with Harbaugh. But, it's still a dangerous team. And you'd think, if you look at the Chargers the last couple of years, do we say, okay, yeah, their big problem is personnel? They really don't have enough players there, and Harbaugh's not going to come in and make much of a difference. Or do we think this team should get better in the first year of Jim Harbaugh? I think they should get better.
Yeah. And it's a style of play that should lend itself as the season progresses. I mean, they're a physical team. I mean, those Michigan teams just seem to get better as the season goes because they wear everybody else out. Everybody else is dinged and bruised. They are the bully. So we'll see if Jim Harbaugh can implement that year 1. But he will be it'll be an interesting one as well. So last block here, we got the away at Cincinnati and then home against the Chiefs. You might steal a game against the Chiefs here. The Chiefs might already, have the division locked up. We will see how that plays out. God, it's been the offseason from hell for the Chiefs. So who knows? Maybe at that point they're rolling because they win the regular season, lose the offseason. But yeah, Scott, this is a tough schedule. Denver's just not very talented right now. This is a season that you're having the fallout from the Russell Wilson trade in many areas. It's not just the dead cap hit that you're taking a majority of this season, but also the lack of premium draft picks in 2022 and 2023, with those classes having really 1.5 good players coming from them right now in Nick Bonito and the special teams aspect of Marvin Mims. That's supposed to be the lifeblood and the basis of your team, right? Those draft picks and use free agency to supplement your roster. You're essentially missing 2 of the last 4 classes, making a big impact for you. So not a great Broncos team, tough schedule. I got them going 6-11 on the whole. You probably have them when you were doing that, you have them going anywhere from 4 wins to 8 wins, I think, when you did the block by block.
Yeah, I think you might be able to, you can squeak out, 2-1 in block 4 here, which would make it 5 wins, 6 wins, which is your line there. And then again, who are you going to get in the final week? Are you going to get Kansas City, who cares? Probably not. They might be trying to play for a seed, a home playoff game. But again, that's not the same thing as trying to play to get in or out, or playing for seeding doesn't get people excited on the fields. Doesn't make that big of a difference. So again, I'm when I'm looking at this schedule, this roster, this cap situation for 2024, I see 5-12. I see 6-11.
Which has you right in line with
Straddling the
Vegas.
line of expectations for this team on a national perspective.
Yep. Better than, God, who was it? Sports Illustrated?
Yeah, it was Gilberto, maybe. I think I don't know. It's a newer name for me over at Sports Illustrated. He had the team 2-15.
Not great, if that's the case, but we'll see. If Denver does end up being that poor, hopefully it's not because of Bo Nix and you still have something to build on. And we'll have plenty of chances to talk, what is a successful season for Denver as well. And in my opinion, again, I've said it on here a lot, you want to see some of these rookie contract guys who are of this regime, emerging and progressing as the season goes on. Now, maybe that is not manifesting wins in the end, but Troy Franklin starts to emerge as a viable wide receiver. Marvin Mims protects the football and runs more than a 9 route. Bo Nix getting better. You're seeing a little bit of the positives of Auburn Bo Nix playmaking with the efficiency of Bo Nix at Oregon. Things like that. Even if it results in losses in the end, you want to see young rookie contract players emerging. And I think, Jay, if Denver goes 2-15, it's still probably too early to say if Nix isn't the guy, because I think really where I look at the roster and be like, man, this team is just lacking. It's on the defensive side of the ball. I think LaRon Washington mentioned it as well, saying it's the defensive side of the ball that scares me. Outside of Surtain, I don't really love anybody on the defensive side of the ball. Zach, I like Allen. Excuse me. I like Allen a lot, but like Love, who are the guys who have a chance to be a Pro Bowler? It's just Surtain. That's the only Pro Bowl talent you have on that side of the ball.
And I look at the offense and think you've got an underachieving, overpaid offensive line and a lack of weapons and the skill players and a rookie quarterback.
Yep.
I mean, there's questions here, but, as Jay says, how do you see the Broncos getting 10 wins? I look at this and think, okay, you pull off 2-2 in the first 4. There's 2 wins, 3-1 in the second block. That's 5. You get 2-2 here. That's 7. Another 2-1 here. That's 9. Then you split in the bottom one, and that's 10. Possible. All of that's possible. Again, you're not favored in all but 2. You're underdogs in all but 2 of these games. Is it probable? No, but possible for sure. And what has to happen? Your highly paid, highly drafted guys need to step up. McGlinchey is a big part of that. McGlinchey needs to play like he's a $20 million right tackle. I need Ben Powers to step up. I need my center to play at a competent level who's being replaced by who's replacing Lloyd Cushenberry. I need Greg Dulcich on the field. I need Marvin Mims to play like a guy I traded up for. I need Riley Moss on the field. I need John Franklin Myers to come in and make me forget that Jonathan Harris was ever on the team. I need DJ Jones playing like he did in 2022. I need Justin Simmons and Josie Jewell to prove that it was a fluke that they scored 70 when they weren't on the field and not that they scored 70 because they weren't on the field, and that Brandon Jones is actually an upgrade. I need Caden Stearns to be healthy. That's how I win 10, and that is a lot of things I need.
Yep. Simple for me, Scott. Typically, I'm the long-winded one. Not that you were long-winded there, but I'll give the quick answer. If Bo Nix comes out and plays like a top 12 quarterback, top 10 quarterback out of the gate, you have a chance to win 10 games this season. That said, tough schedule and not a great roster right now. So again, young guys emerging, positive direction for the franchise, and really just kind of understanding where you're at as a team. I think that's big, because next offseason, you're going to have the ability to spend money. You don't have a lot of money on the books for 2025, 2026. You did touch the contracts of McGlinchey and Allen, maybe touch Powers as well, which does raise the expenditures later down the line. Added some void years to somebody else. Also, I can't remember who it was, but you have the ability to really spend. So where are we at as a team? What areas do we need to fortify that aren't just, draft picks? And maybe talking about a top 5, top 10 draft pick next year and what looks to be a unbelievable pass rush crop coming out. So that'll get me excited, Scott. I don't know. I don't want to start off too
What's a
hot.
pass rush?
God, man. I mean, Denver knows what pass rush is. We had some good years. Elvis Dumerville to Von Miller to DeMarcus Ware to Bradley Chubb too. I mean, I know Denver fans kind of are so on Chubb, but he was a good player. Hurt, that was the biggest thing. But any final thoughts, Scott? I mean, again, I have him 6 wins. Maybe that makes me a hater, but it's a long season and a lot can change, and we'll take it game by game.
Yeah, again, we're not just because what we think now doesn't mean that's what we think as we move week to week to week. A lot of things change. Again, you look at how much did the New York Jets change from May to the second series of last year? It was a completely different team. So you just don't know.
Yep. A lot can change and a lot will change. But it's not going to change. We're going to keep coming at you guys Mondays and Wednesdays. Good to see you. Make sure you guys are following Scott on Twitter. Scott's at Scout Kennedy. I'm at Nick Kendell MHH. Also follow us at Mile High Huddle, as well as Facebook.com/Mile High Huddle and Facebook.com/Mile High Huddle pod. As that ticker says there underneath, please subscribe to Mile High Huddle over on YouTube. Like the show on your way in, your way out, and share on your social media platform. Shout out to Michael Ronquillo, Keith Brugman, and the Boogmeister for coming in, keeping the lights on in May. You guys are great. Scott, final thoughts before we close shop.
I'm going to let Michael Ronquillo have our final thought as he's closing us up. He says, great show today, Nick and Scott on Broncos for breakfast. Go Broncos. I guess my last final thought was Gabe and Jeremy, this is the end of it. Okay. You're dominating the chat. Move on or move out. It's the end of the conversation with this, with you two just being completely off point. It ends up hurting the rest of the community. Let's change subjects and move on. Find some common ground or something else to discuss. This is the end of this type of morning for here that we're going to be on. I'm done.
For sure. And maybe I am a glass half empty kind of guy. Scott and I both come from my actual origins are actually Missouri, but Scott's got Missouri in his heart. Show me state. A lot of question marks for Denver. I'll believe it when I see it. Maybe that makes me a skeptic. Maybe it just makes me a man of science. But we'll see what happens here. But maybe that makes me glass half empty. I need to see the data. I need to see the results.
Yep. Show me. Let's get out of here.
Yeah. Appreciate everyone. We're going to get on out of here. Have a great rest of your day. Happy Monday. Great week. And we'll see you on Wednesday. Until then, choose kindness and compassion. Go Broncos.